Hello and welcome. My name is Steve Pugh. Every Monday at 4 p.m. here in the UK, I do something called a Growth Strategy Podcast where I talk to you and hopefully introduce you to some interesting people. What I try and do every week is introduce you to people that hopefully you can relate to as well. That yes, we all see people in the news and stuff that have these £200 million businesses and they float on the stock market and do all this great stuff. But for 99% of people, that's kind of not the world that we live in. So what I try and do is introduce you and talk through people's real journey, people's real products that hopefully, relates to what you're doing. And then likewise, we also talk quite openly and honestly about some of the challenges we go through and that kind of thing as well. Just because being honest, that's, the world we're in and that's kind of how it works. So Katharine, who I'm going to introduce you to today, I know pretty well. We'll probably talk in the chat about how we know each other and stuff as well. Really lovely lady. Ironically, we both went to Sheffield Uni, which is a strange coincidence, which we'll also kind of talk about. But basically, for the next kind of 30, 40 minutes, we'll just have a really good chat. I'd love it if you join us and hopefully follow on. So Katharine, there we go. You're now live. Would you like to say hi to everyone?
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you virtually.
So as I mentioned, so I'm trying to think, did we actually meet? I think it was at a networking event, which I'm trying to think what it was. There was a few at the Hilton, but I think we actually knew each other before that.
We did know each other before, and you came here to visit to see
That's
the car.
what it was. Yes. Good knowledge.
Right.
My mind got blank. So when I was MD of a Durham-based manufacturing business, we spoke. That would have been about 4 years ago now. And it was about potential manufacture and assembly of your KareKot, which we'll talk about. But no, I'd forgotten that we weren't the right fit at the right time, and things evolved and moved on. But when I kind of set up, I know that we had several coffees and conversations and stuff about Braces taking it forward a while back. But I genuinely think that you've got a really good product that I think it's great to talk about. But the journey, I love it, where it came from. You've recently won some awards, and I just thought someone asked me last week. So obviously I do my live stream thing every Friday morning, which is a Q&A. And in the classroom sessions, again, so we were talking about values and why it's important to kind of live your values. And something that I hadn't realized that I was doing was that inherently, but by mistake, I was interviewing a lot of men. And it was just because a lot of business owners are men. And I thought, I wasn't going against my own values, but I was doing it without thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it was just, really great people I want to champion as much as I can. And I was just delighted when you said yes. That's kind of cool.
Oh, that's good to hear.
So would you like to almost tell people quickly, about who you are, what you do, and then we'll go all the way back to school and kind of walk people through it. Is that cool?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Katharine Paterson, and I'm the creator of KareKot, which is an innovative, patent-granted hotbed for babies. And I guess I'll come on to explain what drew me into this, because it wasn't what I was trained in that way. And I was at Sheffield, but a bit earlier than Steve, to be honest.
A little bit. But I obviously I have my questions and my structure, but actually I think for this one it might be really interesting to jump straight into KareKot first, then go backwards. Okay. So would you like to almost tell people, what it is?
Okay. The inspiration behind KareKot came when I had my baby. I was an old mum. I was 42. So pretty much sought after. She was 6 weeks premature. So when she was about 6 months old and she started getting really active in her cot, and she would bump herself on the solid surfaces or get her arms and legs stuck in the cot bars, I began to worry naturally about her injuring herself, and I got cot bumpers and small print on the cot bumpers. I never read small print, but for some reason when you have a child you become super alert to everything. Read the small print and it referred to a danger of strangulation and suffocation. And I just thought, absolutely no way. I can't believe that we're putting our babies to sleep in what are essentially unsafe places. So it just really surprised me. But that night I sat down, I got a needle and thread, ripped up a tea towel, and I made a model of what I wanted a cot bed to look like. And that was 11 years ago. Wow. And I've been on a mission since then to actually bring KareKot to market.
But I think one of the things that I love is that it's both from a business strategy point of view, it's based on a real, genuine need, but also behind it, there's a genuine vision, passion, and mission to make a change. It's not just make money.
Exactly, yeah.
And actually, but because of that, it's also obviously on this, we can't show the prototype, but it's a really nice piece of kit as well. So the point is, it's not just something which is functional, but isn't desirable. but actually I rarely get it. And then do you have any other stats about when, child injuries, that kind of thing?
I did. It's quite interesting because once you become aware that there are issues, and naturally you speak to other parents at the preschool gates and what have you, and everybody seems to experience some sort of injury with the child, but it just seems to be accepted. Oh, she bumped her head, she won't do it again. I'm like, it doesn't quite work like that. And I did a freedom of information request to the hospitals, trusts up and down the land, and it transpires that on average, so between 10 and 50 admissions to hospitals with injuries attributed to cot and crib. And to me, one is just one too many.
Yeah.
So, quite clearly there is a problem. And I've done some further research with a baby sleep consultant based at Harley Street, and their consumer audience, they basically said about 80% of them had some issues with their cots. So, it's a real problem. And as I say, even a minor bruise to me is one too many.
Yeah, that's cool. I just want to be completely honest with you. I realized it wasn't streaming to LinkedIn, but I've just corrected it. But it doesn't really matter. It's one of those things that, again, when it's a first world problem is what I call it. That we were still streaming and we were still recording,
right.
and it's still perfect to use, and we'll carry on. But before the call, when I said something always goes wrong, it was just that sometimes things connect, sometimes they don't, and it is what it is. But anyway, as we said as well, often the recording is the best bit anyway. But but no, you are right that one injury is too many, and then likewise, I can almost imagine just being a parent and something happening, it would be absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's a frightening prospect, and to the point that I would put my daughter to sleep in a travel cot because they are essentially soft-sided and breathable, but they're not robust. They look quite good in a tent for a little camping holiday, but not as a permanent place for your child to sleep. So it works for a while, but not as a solution. And it wouldn't be a permanent solution. Yeah.
Cool. So would you be happy if I almost go back to the point where I think it's always really interesting for people to, kind of share what they were like at school, and then almost because of that. But for me, it's more about like the character traits and that kind of thing, because actually, not everyone has the desire to do something, to do it entrepreneurially. A lot of people think they can do it, but actually it's a lot harder than what, you think. So like, what were you like at school?
It's quite interesting because when I was at school, the concept of entrepreneurship just never got raised. I think I grew up in Oldham in Lancashire, and I think I was quite a good student. I was quite diligent. I didn't like getting told off, so therefore I worked hard not to get told off. But I had 3 part-time jobs, which is quite interesting. I worked in a florist on Saturday morning. I worked as a lifeguard at the swimming baths, and I also looked after a little boy, taking him to and from school. So I guess in somewhere inside me, there was a desire to sort of pay my way, I guess.
And what age was that?
That was it would have been, I started at the florist when I was about 13, and I went right through to 18. And my wage never rose in that whole time.
Shocking.
£5 for the morning. But I loved it. I loved doing it. But there was obviously a little bit of rebellious streak in me as well, because I was at a girls' school. And through actually having raised some money, I got myself a full motorcycle license and bought a motorbike.
Oh, nice.
And then got permission from the school, ironically, to go to school on the motorbike. And I used to park it in front of the headmistress's office, which I love. I love doing that, and then putting my uniform on. So I did feel a bit of a rebel then, I guess.
Oh, cool. So then you went to Sheffield Uni, I believe.
I did.
Was it geography? I'm trying to think.
I did something. I love geography. I got the geography prize at school, which I'm very proud of. But I was very interested in how the city and the urban landscapes worked, but I couldn't decide whether I wanted to do town planning or architecture. So I did something called urban studies at Sheffield, which I still think is a degree, and it's all about economics, sociology, politics, focusing on the city. So I studied there for 3 years, which I absolutely loved. It was a great place to be. Brilliant.
Was the Arts Tower there when you were there?
Yes, going on that paternoster up and down, taking your life in your hands when you jump on and off.
I remember the first time. Did you ever go all the way around the top and the bottom as well?
No, because there were rumours around that it actually tips upside down when you went over.
It doesn't. So I did it many times.
I bet it could. It doesn't. But as I said, I'm a bit risk averse, I would say. So and I don't like getting in trouble. So So I didn't do that, no.
No, cool. But it was funny actually, because with you've currently kindly agreed to be one of the the guests and the people that I'd like to make a film about with the roadmap and stuff that I'm kind of doing. But almost when I obviously, so there's yourself, me, and also Helena Sanson, that was one of the people, again all Sheffield graduates. But part of me just wonders if your people's like background, you seem to like gravitate together for different things, just core values and stuff of what people are about and stuff. Or it might just be complete bias, which it could also be as well.
Yeah,
But anyway, so at what point so you started your career and then you went into academia, is that right?
No, I left Sheffield and went on. I then decided I did want to do town planning, so I went on to do an MPhil at Newcastle, which brought me to the northeast. I've never looked back from that, so I'm still here now. But then I never worked in town planning. I went into economic development and worked for Durham County Council, and got heavily involved with Europe. I was in the European team supporting the access to European grants. Worked on the cricket ground at Chestler Street, the test match ground, which is a really fantastic big project for me to be involved with, and was there for 5 years before my absolute dream job got advertised at Newcastle University, which was coordinator of European programmes. And I should have said, whilst I was at Newcastle, I was one of the first students to go out on an Erasmus exchange to France.
Oh, wow.
Sadly not available now, seemingly. But I spent 3 months there, and it was the best education ever, because you're just thrown in. I have to speak French. I did French A level, and met some fantastic people, and it just opened my eyes to like the freedom of movement and freedom to learn, all this sort of stuff. So I came back, and then the opportunity came up at Newcastle to actually manage that program at the university.
Yeah,
So
cool.
there was no way anyone else was getting that job. That was my job, and I really went for that all guns blazing, and I was amazed when they offered it me. So,
but I think it's funny that often I think you often know if someone's the right fit for a job or not, or they just have the passion for it. And almost just on the economic development point of view. So when I used to work at the Tees Valley LEP, which is good 10 years ago now, it was one of the best jobs I've ever had, because actually just the concept of working to create jobs and benefit a community.
Yeah.
It's a hard job because you have to have nothing to play with, but actually it's quite fulfilling. I really enjoyed it. And ironically, there's a lot of similarities with entrepreneurship, because often, especially when you start out, you've got nothing to play with and it's a really hard job. Yeah. So then at what point, I guess you said it was 11 years ago, you almost got the itch to start your own business. I'm guessing you did that alongside working to start with?
Yeah, I mean, since Newcastle, I worked at Durham University for a while. I was head of regional regeneration there, and then moved on to direct a region-wide programme for the universities and colleges in the region. Pregnant, so that was a fantastic thing to happen, and took maternity naturally, and it was while I was on maternity leave that I experienced this problem. So what I would say is that I never thought I was going to be an inventor or an entrepreneur. It was like, this isn't good enough, something has got to change. So I was almost there, like I'm almost like an accidental entrepreneur who saw a problem. It's saw a massive problem actually when you start to scrape the surface, like I say, and you look at the stats, and thought there's got to be some solution to this, and there wasn't anything on the market then, and there isn't anything on the market now, thankfully, which is one of my concerns, that somebody gets there first.
I completely agree. So you said almost in the time since when you first got the idea, which was 11 years ago, to then, luckily, touch some wood, nobody has launched a similar product to the level. So one of the big key things for that, I guess, on two sides. One is the design element to it, how it looks great and that kind of thing. But almost the pattern. Would you like to almost tell people what it is that makes it special? And I've seen you present on this in the past as well. And I think it's just it's really good to explain to people why it's so clever.
Okay, so the issue really was my baby daughter hurting herself, which was the key one. Both me and my husband are quite tall, so we were used to sort of reaching in and out of the cot and getting Evie out. However, it transpires, as I've done my research, that in 2011 the United States banned what I call the guillotine drop-side cots, the ones that go up and down, because there were over 30 children killed in them. So we then started to look at what had happened in Europe, and what the European manufacturers had done is not ban the drop side, essentially they introduced a system where the side had to lock in the up and the down position. So instead of introducing the lock, the manufacturers put 3 layers of base in. So when your child's the heaviest, the base is at the bottom. And so if you're leaning in, there's potential back injuries for adults, and then limiting the child in and out. So we were keen to explore options for a drop side as well, which didn't have the issues that the traditional up and down guillotine one has. So the design is based on a wooden base as normal. It has a rear wooden frame and a steel hoop around the top, into which goes a mesh liner. There are hinges at the rear, a hydraulic arm at the front. So essentially the side drops down like this, and the mesh all stretches, so you get your child in and out, but the sides don't move away, and then it releases back up. So the pattern is about all that interrelationship. And we managed to secure a patent in the US where the traditional drop side has been banned. So that market is a real potential for me, I think. I can't wait to sort of explore that in more detail.
So just to kind of pick your brains on it, so what sides of it on the traditional design where the risky, was it the cot bumpers you said people can choke on?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, a number of states in the US have banned cot bumpers now, again, because children die, they get strangled or they suffocate using them. We haven't banned them in this country, although there is a movement to do so, and they're still on sale. People still use them, and they're advised to take them off when you put your baby into the cot. Well, what is the point of that? Yes, they look pretty. I've still got Eevees. They do look pretty. They're lovely, but they're just not fit for purpose.
Yeah. And
I would hope that, once KareKot gets onto market and people realise that they don't need, because there's nowhere to tie bumpers. That's the whole point. There's the structure is so minimalist, and you don't need them anyway because it's all mesh sided. That there could be a stronger move to ban cot bumpers.
Because I think part of the challenge with when you launch anything, and it's almost the chat we had before we kind of went on air, is that people just accept the status quo, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And often it does take a lot of time and effort and almost the social proof angle that other people want to see other people use it, and then before they really buy into it. And there's hundreds of examples about things that were acceptable that aren't.
Yes.
And it's funny that sometimes, like, I'm not a huge football fan, but I still love what Marcus Rashford has done just to keep banging the drum to do with everything he's doing to do,
Yeah.
But it's almost where you often need that champion to really just keep fighting. And it's funny, and it's almost like, how have you found the journey? That obviously you've got a product that you've wanted to launch for a long time. And I know there's chats that we've had in the past. What kind of challenges have you come up with and to over time?
Well, my first challenge, I guess, was the fact that my husband worked away. So I had a small baby and was trying to deal with a job that paid with a pension, and then trying to do this part-time. And that went on for quite a few years. So I actually felt that I was doing neither job particularly well, because I couldn't give my all to both of them, and my daughter as well, was obviously the key, the inspiration, as it were. Other challenges, and I guess if there's any women in the audience, they won't be surprised to hear me say this. I am a single female founder, also in a product-related businesses that's pre-revenue. Now, if you pitch that to any potential investors, I'm not SaaS, I'm not fintech, I'm not an app, I haven't got a co-founder, and it's almost like a step back all the way. It seems to me that the world's moving towards a place where we don't need any products. Yeah. But in my view, babies will still need somewhere to sleep. They can't sleep in an app.
Because I know it was at St. James's Park, wasn't it, when we saw each other, and you had a series of pictures. Yeah. And I just couldn't believe it. I almost just wanted to sit next to you and just say nothing. Just to kind of, but it's ridiculous that would almost be a thing. But again, I can see why, if you're an investor, you worry about a solo person that you invest in.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Why the woman thing? And I think it's one of those things that it needs to change, and I don't get it.
No, it's disappointing at every level, but I think there are moves. There are slow moves in the right direction now. I think people have wised up to it after the Rose report that was done by I think it was the chief executive, NatWest, it did that. And I think people are more aware of it, but I think it's almost like systemic that a lot of venture capitalists, for example, about 90% of them are male. So they invest in male-led businesses. But the irony of it is that women-led businesses actually generate 3 times returns of men-related businesses. So, they're missing a chance here, really.
But you know what's
And
quite funny about that?
I would say this selfishly with the COP, babies are global,
Yeah.
and
And they're
there's
going to keep
always going to
coming.
be babies. So,
But it's true. I think what I was going to say is that so there's loads of stats to do job interviews, and almost men will apply for jobs that they're not qualified to do just because they're like, yeah, go for it, sod it. As where women almost have to be overqualified a lot of the time to go for a set. So almost on that same stat, I think part of the truth will be is that a lot of women founders have to be super, super confident and they know what they're doing. Therefore, they're more successful. As you'll have a lot of men that wing something and try to do something when they're not actually qualified or trained to do it. And that's probably why you have a higher percentage failures. And it's almost like a confidence thing.
It is a confidence thing without a doubt. And I think we are more risk averse and not bullish. And, it's not a criticism of blokes, fair play to them. They've done well. But it's about time we had that sort of readjustment. And it's not enough, no. And it has been a significant challenge for me to try and get that investment in. But I do also understand that there is a risk investing in the pre-revenue business too. But until I've got some traction orders, that's the finalised product, and I'm not in a position to do that. But I mean, there've been other things as well. It's like I took voluntary severance from my job 3 years ago. So there's no income coming in where there used to be. So that's no luxuries, and we can't do this, we can't do that. Thankfully, I've got quite a patient husband. I get a 6-month extension every 6 months. I said, it'll be worth it in the end. It'll be worth it in the end when we get there. So he's been brilliant actually throughout this. And I think the other challenge, I guess, for me is that I'm trained as a town planner. This is far from what I was trained to do. I'm not a product designer. A bloke wouldn't say that, would they? They would say I'm not. But I'm not, and that is not my my expertise. So I'm relying on professionals who can guide me and keep me on the straight and narrow in terms of what the business needs. So that's an interesting one, really. And I've also mentioned worry about someone getting there first, but hopefully my patterns will protect that from happening.
Yeah, but even if they do, so for instance, obviously we were talking about the business course that I do. You've had business courses around for hundreds of years, and there are loads of them. And a lot of them, even you can get for free with European funding. But if you're confident you can do it better, as I know you are with your product and what you're doing, it's, I think so often it's in the execution is where I think, you'll thrive, because actually it's a really, really nice piece of kit. And even I love the hydraulic, it's a nice solid movement. It's not a rickety kind of thing. Denise Nesbitt is saying, so true, Catherine. Denise is another female business owner based in Teesside. But it is true that I think there's a lot of stuff there that, back to the venture capital kind of thing. How did they almost say to you, we're not going to invest in you for these reasons? Was it blunt, or was it kind of they try and gently?
It's not sugar coated, and you have to really probe. I had to probe quite a few times to actually get the feedback. But no, quite clear, you need to get a co-founder. And that, I'll be honest, that irritates me. It's not like just going to the shop and finding someone, I can work with him or her. This is someone that if they're going to be part of your business, you're going to have to be aligned in your values. You're going to have to get on.
It's almost like, would you marry them? It's at
exactly,
that level.
Exactly. And, I've worked really well with professionals, as I said, and there's a couple of designers that I've worked with now for 6 or 7 years, and they've done pro bono for me when I've been short of money, and now they're getting paid with the grant, which I'm sure we'll come on to. But I'd rather work on a consultancy basis for now until we actually get to the point where I can employ a team, and that's how my business model will operate.
As it should. But I think it's often it's people that haven't or don't do. Often be like, oh no, you need to do this, you need to do this. So same with me. So I like having 100% control on everything I'm doing, because it just means I know that I can do the right thing. Because actually, truth be told, some of the businesses that I work with that have multiple directors, if they don't get on, it's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And it's the worst thing, because you can just stall. And what you often end up with is just the most average of everything.
Yeah.
That you never end up with the best, because people have different opinions almost. Rightly or wrongly, I think you do need a figurehead or a person to just take whatever the idea is and just run with it on your vision.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I think there's something buzzing in my head. I think about 48% of businesses that get investment are single founders. So it's quite interesting that the environment that I'm in, the investment environment, is focusing very much on team.
Yeah.
So, Jeff Bezos, whether you like him or not, he's done well, and he was a single founder,
But I agree with you, and I think it's their loss is the way that I would almost view it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be Julia Roberts going back with my bags. Big mistake in the film Pretty Woman. You must have seen it.
Yes, I have seen it.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on it a little bit. So you recently won the Innovate UK Women in Innovation Award. Would you like to both tell people what the award is and then also a bit about the process?
Okay, so this is my second time in applying for the Innovate UK Women in Innovation Award. I ummed and ahed whether I should. It's a lot of legwork. It took me about a week to fill in all the paperwork and the documentation to get to the point where I was happy to submit it. And I put it in thinking, well, bearing in mind, my husband keeps giving me these 6-month extensions before I'm being told to go and get another job. And I thought, well, this is another one. Let's see what we can do. And absolutely thrilled, over the moon to get the grant, which is £50,000, which is perfect for getting me over that gap between where I am now to the point where I can actually get a final model, to get orders, to then get to sales. That it couldn't have come at a better time. And what I would say is, if any women in the audience, the Innovate UK are doing it again this year. They normally do it biannually. They're doing it again this year. There's a big launch event in August, I think it is. You need to look on the Innovate UK website, but go for it, because honestly, it's made such a big difference. And it's not just the money. It's all about the profile. I've been on the telly, I've been on the radio, I've been in the journal, which, never been so popular on LinkedIn. So, there are lots of pluses to it. And I think just to have that badge, which I'm now entitled to put on my header on LinkedIn and on my website, Women in Innovation, that helps, and that will help when I go back to raise finance again for the next stage. So yeah, do it, girls, do it.
But I agree with it, because what it does is it gives, one of the big things with any business you always want to build is almost credibility and trust. Yeah. And actually what that would do, and it'd be true whoever wins it, almost says, look, someone that you trust, Innovate UK, has looked at this person and given them a stamp of approval and some money. That it adds a lot. That ironically now, I bet you if you went back to the same VCs, they'd be a lot more willing to invest. But almost, I saw in Teesside this week, there's been a lot of people who are the top 50, I think, most inspiring Teesside business leader type people.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really funny one, just because I don't begrudge anyone for going for this kind of thing, but I almost sometimes worry that is it a popularity contest? And actually for people like yourself or me or whoever, that you're almost first starting out, one thing that I almost hate about business awards, and bear in mind, when I was at Delep, I used to help judge them and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Who's to say that my business is better than yours and yours is better than Denise's? Thanks for commenting again. But you get my point. It's almost I don't like that, because actually it's like saying, no, your child's uglier than that one. And it's your business is your baby, it's your passion, it's everything that you put your heart and soul into.
Yeah.
That almost part of me thinks, I don't know if you follow boxing, but there's a boxer called Tyson Fury. No. But there's a boxer called Tyson Fury, and he was nominated for BBC Sports Personality of the Year. This year, might have been last year. And he actually said, Benry's world heavyweight champion, you know what, guys, thank you, but I don't want to be considered. And his whole point was, I know me, I know what's important to me, what's important to my family, and I work really hard at what I do. I don't want to be judged against anyone else. And I was like, I appreciated that kind of, hustle. But
I've never really thought about it like that, because that's, like you say, it's like apples and oranges, isn't it? Different sports. And I guess the most popular sports, are the ones that people understand, that would succeed, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a sports personality of the year.
It was ironically, I don't watch it, but it was just the principle. He actually said, look, I don't want to be judged side by side against someone else, because everyone has different aims, missions, goals and stuff for their business.
Yeah.
That actually, my goal might be different to someone else's. And it's almost, so for me with the roadmap, yes, I want it to do well and, whatever. But ironically, as long as I can make a living off it and help people and give them access to stuff, I'll kind of take it. It's not about earning £2 million a year.
No.
But if you go to business awards, they might say, oh, no, but so-and-so floated on the stock market and does 100 million, and good for them. But, so it's the same with you. I would prefer to sell 10 cots and it potentially saves one child's life.
Yeah.
Than raise 100 million quid and then have a business that goes bust. There's a fine balance almost. I think in society we need to value more values and passion and community and entrepreneurship and buy local and that kind of thing of real people. And it's part of the reason why I like doing this, that it's not just Jeff Bezos and the likes.
I think that's coming. I sense there's a change, and it's one of the things that I've through Innovate UK, you get access to coaches. I mean, it's fantastic. And, there's things like the kindness economy now, and how we need to think more about what we do. And is business always about, it's the balance between purpose of your business and profit, as you've alluded to. And yeah, obviously I would like to pay my mortgage off, but I certainly don't want a yacht in Saint-Tropez. That's not my global ambition, as it were. And the challenge for me right now is I'd like if you are to pitch to investors, how that comes across, because investors want to make a return on what they're investing in you, and you think, well, I'm maybe not going to. I don't know. I've not resolved that in my mind really, how I'm going to approach that. But I'm working with some coaches to try and see how I can sort of suggest that it's about, yes, babies need cots, but it's not necessarily about the pursuit of relentless profit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One of the questions that I had was actually, and it relates to everything we're talking about. Do you feel that there is enough support for, I'll say entrepreneurs in general, but in particular like female entrepreneurs? Just, it's that, I think there's often a massive gap between people. A lot of people have good ideas, but to then go from that to say, well, actually, how do I develop this? What do I do with it?
Yeah. I think it's interesting over the COVID time, when everything's gone on Zoom, there's been loads virtually to get access to sort of training and networks and these sorts of things, but it's never the same as what you can have like face to face. And there are lots of women's networks around now, but I still think we've got that inherent issue of male dominance in entrepreneurship that we do need to shift. And there can be women only initiatives, and we need more. And I think if you go back to the Rose review that I said the NatWest lady did, there are lots of good things in there, like the Investing in Women code, about like women only access to finance and things like that. So there's so much more that can be done and that needs to be done. Bearing in mind what I said about women-led businesses return 3 times more on their investment than male-led. And it's like, how many more times you need to say that before people wise up to it? It's like, take less of a risk. It might be a bit more of a cautionary approach with the women-led businesses, but do it because you get your returns in a much fairer way, I think. And there was that, I don't know whether it's still true. It's like for every penny invested, for every pound, 1 penny goes into a woman-led business.
Yeah, shocking.
Wrong. And there's the Robin Hood thing, wasn't there, in the US? Robin Hood, big stockbrokers thing. I don't know what it is, but they got 3.5 billion in 5 days in the US, which is more than every woman-led business got in a year in the US.
Wow.
That's wrong. On every level, that's wrong.
I'm just admiring your daughter's ninja skills to
I know.
climb on. I thought it was brilliant.
She hasn't been told to crop. You probably saw her head bobbing along.
I thought it was class. It was just, ironically, the people on the stream won't have seen it, but I saw it. But I love this, and I love almost it's real life. Do you know what I mean? And ironically, Denise, if she's probably still watching, when we do our Zoom classroom sessions on Tuesdays, the whole point is trying to make it accessible. So I have random people join or whatever.
Yeah.
And we had one guy just start playing guitar. I think we got video bombed, but it was just funny. So we just carried on. We gradually just deleted him. But this is real life. And I think often when people, again, people try and be too perfect. And it's just, I think that's wrong. I think it's when things go wrong, like it did at the start of the stream, when I saw that although we'd started and it was recording and it was broadcasting, LinkedIn hadn't quite clicked in, but I'll do the clever edit and stuff later. But it was just,
sure.
These things happen. And it's just,
and I think that is, the one good thing that has come out of COVID is that, people have, they see into your lives. You can see them on my mirror and things behind me, and family. And this is us, it's not just our work face anymore, which is what you would have got normally. It's, in context, in a much broader context.
So I've got to ask you, what is the dream for the business?
My dream is to I cannot wait till I get that first sale. Honestly, that will just fill my heart with joy. And obviously that first sale will lead on to many more sales to help our babies sleep more safely and soundly, and parents' backs. I'd like to explore where KareKot's patent granted, which makes obvious sense. So France, Germany, Ireland, US. Explore those markets, and then diversify furniture ranges, soft furnishings. All the potential around all that is huge. And also to look at different sectors, nurseries. When you send your child to a nursery, they get put in little cots. Same issue, nursery staff listing them in and out without a drop side. Healthcare sector, children with brittle bones, that's the potential. So there's enormous potential for it. But for me, it's just that initial sale and hopefully the positive reviews, because I'm so aware now how the whole of the social media thing is significant. You want to engage with the audience, get positive reviews, and that's
but
what
ironically, the more people that see your story and buy into your story before, so I don't have children, so I have no need for the cot, but the point is, if they buy into it and what you're trying to achieve, they're going to be a lot more forgiving with reviews and stuff. That you will get people that criticize it, they'll say it's too expensive or whatever, but it doesn't matter if they're not your core audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, it's arguably, so say if you sell 100, you might get 5 that aren't the nicest, but if you get 20 that say, you know what, it's brilliant. And ironically, it's like a car safety belt. You never know it works until you crash.
Exactly.
Hopefully no one who ever uses the product will ever have a bad experience, versus, but you don't know what you don't know. But I think you'll do really well from that. And likewise, just, being honest and sharing more about the story and what it's about, and hopefully the film that we're going to do, you can use that footage, and that'll make a massive thing to buy people into the vision, if that makes sense. And then likewise, just what we were saying before, when you try and come across as a real person, if things aren't perfect, it's like, I'm kind of doing this on my own. I'm doing my best. I'll fix it. I'll do whatever you need. But I'm not Jeff Bezos. I'm not a 40,000 person business.
No.
And but again, people buy and they will pay a premium for stuff because ironically, customer service is so valuable. So I'd almost guarantee that when you start to sell them, which you will, the phone number, it probably will be you at the other end. Same as with My Stuff Beats Me. I'll do anything I humanly can to make it better. And that's worth a lot of money. Versus again an Amazon. My wife bought my father-in-law a rugby top for his birthday. It didn't quite fit, and she was going to say, "I decided to leave it to one side." Luckily, it fits me. But the point is, other bigger manufacturers and different types of manufacturers, there's not the same level of care and stuff that people like handcrafted and locally sourced and local entrepreneurs and stuff that. I touch some wood, there'll be a really good story there. And then likewise, do you know a lady called Sarah Blakely that runs known Spanx in the US?
I've heard of, yes.
She's a brilliant lady. So basically I did one of her kind of masterclass things. So she, female founder, she wanted to launch a new product and it was all about women's shapewear and stuff. But she just worked really damn hard for years and years and years. Even when she had a lot of people tell her, no, it's stupid, you don't need to, there's bigger companies, whatever. And they sell $1 billion worth of stuff now, but still solely owned, female owner. But just, she's really nice, but it's the vision and the way that she comes across. Is that you can't fake that in video. You know what I mean? You instantly know if you like someone or not. And I think it's almost when you do get to the point, how far off do you think you will be to actually kind of having your product in showrooms, or however you choose to market
it? This is the exciting bit now because of the grants. So currently the cot is in Atherton in Lancashire with the samplers, and they're making a number of liners because we need to work out which mesh works best, both technically and aesthetically. And they're completing that work this week, which means then we can finalise the other parts that interrelate with that. So it's the wood and the frame. But obviously we can only get onto market the final tested product.
Yeah.
So even with a fair wind behind us, we're probably talking early next year at the earliest, because Christmas and Chinese New Year, because the fabric will come from China. And I put out something on LinkedIn the other day looking for manufacturers, try and get them as close to home as possible. So we'll see if anyone bites on that. But yeah, it's my ideal really to get most of it made over here.
But just probably, I think when you actually see the first one in a store, probably quite emotional, even if nobody buys it. The thing is, someone you know will probably buy it just for the same.
Don't say that. They'll buy it because they want it. Of course they will.
No, but you get my point. And the other thing as well, because it's a really good, well-made product, you know, you can almost hand it down through generations. It's not there's a lot of stuff now which is kind of a fast fashion, crappy, cheap stuff that breaks, and a lot of people want and will pay more for decent stuff which lasts.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing actually, because one of the issues, ironically, with safety hazards are second-hand cots, hand-me-downs. Because some of them have still got lead paint on, they've lost the bits of screws if they've been, handed down, no instructions. But the brief to the designer about KareKot was keep it simple. I can assemble that in 5 minutes, and and then it transfers onto a toddler bed, and it's easy. And so there's 8 screws, 4, I can't remember now. 4 to 8 screws, not hard to do.
Yeah.
So it's just easy to work with as well.
Oh, cool. So we've kind of covered the dream and the business and what you're looking to do and stuff. Actually, I'm going to jump onto my last few questions, because I was going to ask you technically the same question. I was going to ask about what advice you'd give yourself, but that's actually a bit later on. But like kind of moving on to that as well. Just other female entrepreneurs who have an idea. Actually, to be honest, I talk about diversity and inclusion. Any entrepreneur, it doesn't have to be female. I don't care where you're from if you've got a good idea, but almost especially if you've got a product-based business, because it is harder and it is different. What advice would you give people first starting out?
I think for me, the thing that's got me where it is I absolutely fundamentally believe in what I'm doing, and nobody has said to me give up, it's not right. And I think had somebody said that might have just dented a little bit of my confidence, which can waver, I have to say. I think for me, it's solving a problem. I experienced a real genuine problem which can cause injury and death. So that's significant. And, and that galvanized me into actually trying to do something about it. And I think any advice to any potential entrepreneur is grow a thick skin, because you definitely need one. And, I say now I've got skin like rhino hide. I don't think I have, because, I can get hurt as easy as anybody else if somebody, pipes up and criticizes. But you just have to dust yourself off that little bit quicker and go, do you know what? I am going to prove you wrong. And then just, start a new day with a new coat of rhino skin on you, and off you go again, I obviously, it's quite interesting you interviewing me. I'm not even on the market yet. And this is like 11-year journey.
Yeah.
And hope to God in the next, within the next 12 months, I will be on the market and prove, that this has worked at the end of the day. And it's quite funny because I was trying to sort of do some work around my values of the business. And so I wrote to a few people and said, describe me in three words. And the words determined came back. And one said, you're a director of dogged determination. I thought, I'll take that. That's a really good one. I'm going to stick with that. So it's just that determination and trying to be, is getting above the noise, making sure that you're distinctive as well. You're not just doing the same as everybody else, which is where the patents thankfully give me that badge of authenticity, that it is something different as well. And I'm not saying that all new products can be patented, because they can't, but thankfully I've been able to do that at great expense, but definitely worth it.
Yeah, cool. It's the kind of thing that obviously, especially when I clip this up, that's probably the section we'll use. But it's nice and it's great advice, because often I remember when I launched my stuff back in February and I started to send people free packs and stuff. When I was looking at getting my rebrand done, it's just, same as you do, I want my product to be the best it can be. I ended up going with a company in Middlesbrough. They're really good, but almost there was some people I spoke to down south, and actually some people politely or impolitely said, like, who the fuck do you think you are to almost do this kind of thing? You're not Alan Shuggy, you're not whoever. Oh, and it was just, you get a lot more hate than people probably think you do. And I think the thing is, because it's your baby, it's your passion, you've worked for years to get to this point. It's probably like someone criticizing your kids, and it's just, you need the strength to just, I'm doing this for a reason. Just because you don't see it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But then likewise, in 10 years time for both of us, when we're both in 50 countries and all this great stuff, I won't forget. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that's social media is brilliant, but it does expose the worst in people as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm very conscious of time, and I'm sorry about the thing at the start where some of the stream, when it all gets recorded and clipped up, nobody will ever know.
Right.
But it's just, it is what it is. But I still admire your daughter's commando skills. So I kind of finish off with...
Well, my dad is a Royal Marine, so you would expect that.
Ah, cool. So one of the questions that I ask everyone, and I love this bit as well, because actually it's just completely selfishly personal development for me every week. What's the best piece of advice you've ever had?
Oh, no, I struggled with this one, Steve, because over the years I have had such well-meaning, good intentioned, but contradictory advice. And if you're in my situation, you think, I haven't a clue, really. Someone's saying this, someone's saying that. And I've really learned to tune in to what this is saying now. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that whatever you do is right or wrong. And I think that's the key thing. There isn't a right piece of advice and a wrong piece of advice. It's just different advice. But I've now tuned in a bit more with what my gut's telling me. And, it's not airy-fairy or anything. I think there is a genuine sort of thing that comes from within yourself. So that's what I would say. But there's a quote that I absolutely love, because I read it and I thought, you know what, that's me. And it's by a guy called, Louis Celine Ferdinand, something like that. I should check his name. And it basically says, I think all great inventions are built on rejections. And I thought, yeah, that's it. And every time an investor comes back and says, oh, you need to come back when, I'm like, right, okay, and that just it's just my little baseline, reject, but it'll be a great invention when the time comes. So yeah, I don't think I've had that pearl bit of advice. I've just had good advice across the piece, and I've had to judge which is the best one for me to take.
Yeah, it's funny. So I'm with you. So ironically, it's not that I don't take advice, but I'm such broad inputs from books and people I respect. That is my advice, as opposed to, some people have a coach or a mentor and stuff, unless they've done what I'm looking to do, I get inspiration from you and different people, and it's different things. But I think the resilience is a really big thing, that actually everyone has knocks and down days and bad days, and you second guess it, and then you second guess, is the name correct, and what about this?
Yeah.
And you've got to just go for it and just see what happens. And it's
yeah.
If you were to give advice to your younger self, so this is advice to you, and it could be the person that works for £5 a morning, it could be at uni, it could be in your job, or whichever, what would it be?
What would I say to me? It would probably be something like being a bit more bold and a bit more getting out there. Because like I said, when I was at school, you were trained for a career for life. Mm-hmm. So it was a different environment then. Whereas now, the options are much broader. So I would say be bolder, take more risks, be open to opportunities. Because I don't think my younger self did in many respects. And I think young people now have got many more opportunities. So, you don't have to have a straight career path now. You can do all sorts of things on your way. I think that's what I would say to a young Katharine. Yeah.
Because that's the other
side. And keep on riding the motorbike. That's what I would say.
I think the motorbike thing's class, but it's almost, with part of the reason I like doing these is that there will be people who are your daughter's age or whichever that might want to do their own business thing. And the more people they see that have done it, it just gives them confidence. You know what I mean? Every little bit helps. And now I just think that's really cool. And I love the sentiment on what you're talking about. And it's just try your best. And that was the big thing for me, is that so I was in Cubs and Scouts growing up, and it was always, you know, do your best. And then realistically, if I do my best and fail, but I know in my heart I couldn't have done any more, I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
what I don't want to do is wake up when I'm 75 and be like, yeah, I kind of slacked off. Yeah, I didn't really give my heart to it,
Yeah.
and then regret
Yeah.
it.
It's so true, because I guess, you know, this got the impetus that it needed when I took voluntary severance 3 years ago. I could have stayed in my job, which
Yeah.
was fantastic, pension, good salary, but I just couldn't, because this would then have had to have gone.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. And then just thought, no, I've really got to do it. And everyone went, oh God, are you sure what you're doing? You know, because I have written off my pension for a wee while now. But I you know, I had to do this and grow it or fail it. And failing isn't an option. As you know, it's a bit trite to say that, but it isn't an option. So
No, cool. Is there anything you would like to talk about or plug before we go?
I would say anyone having a baby, don't have one till KareKot's on the market. And if anyone knows of any investors that want to invest in product related things that are good for society, please tell them to get in touch. I think that's what I'd say. I think if people can spread the word about KareKot, but again, it's interesting because you only need a cot at a certain time in your life.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can get an audience over the next 2 or 3 years. It's just, you know, as and when people need them. But
I think it's almost it's getting the word out, and then likewise at the moment, how do you do much promotion? Obviously, I know you're not quite there yet. So
and I haven't, and I've deliberately not. Because I'm not really good at social media. I'm trying to put a little bit more stuff on the website and do a little bit more on LinkedIn. But B, because I intend to start doing more once I know when it's going to be on the market, so I can build a momentum too. And now it's on sale. But right now I can't say it's going to be on the market in January.
Yeah, because one of the things that works quite well for some of my clients is actually Facebook groups. So it's when you have, which you do, almost like there's a community element to what you're doing. It's not just flogging a product.
Yeah.
That actually, you know, there'll be people that might have had children that have had injuries in related products, and there'll be campaign groups and that kind of thing. Yeah. And the more you just join them and talk in them and listen to them, and I think that's one of the big things. When I was at Sheffield, we did a course, and it was on so it was mechanical engineering, but it was all about working with a family, and the child Kieran had cerebral palsy. But actually it's learning and listening, and it's the feedback and iteration, and that's what makes good companies good or great.
Yeah.
Because they listen. It's not just a case of this is the one design or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And it's almost it's that intelligence pipeline could fund or, you know, stimulate the next products. And it's that community that you will get people that love it and they buy it and they talk about it and they tell it to their friends. And it's the classic thing, I guess, for many of us, is that, you know, it'll take 2-3 years of little sales.
Yeah.
And then it'll just go woof.
Yeah.
And I think most people almost give up before it gets to that point. But that's where the confidence in what you're trying to achieve, which helps when you've got a genuine mission, is so much better than just money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess, you know, I have got a website and I do get emails saying there's no price point or where I can get one from, and I have to email them back, and I mean emailing them back and knowing I'm disappointing them, and I hate doing that. But it's you know, that's the reality, and that's why again I've not gone out big to try and whet that appetite that can't be fulfilled. So
but it's a prime example. So I know someone that works at a company out down in Chester, and they make like super high-end furniture for rich Saudi sheikhs and stuff. But, you know, because this is it's a better product and it's the premium end, you could almost do a super high-end version that sells for $5,000 a pop. And, you know, then you'd have your hero product, which is almost the thing everyone wants. Then your standard product, which is, you know, but it's just, but why it's good and why it'll do well is because the inherent product behind it is good.
Yeah.
It's not just another of the same, if that makes sense.
No, it should stand out on the showroom floor for sure. You know, because it'll just look so different.
Oh, cool. But I thank you for your time. What time we're on? So we're on virtually 4:55. It's been a pleasure to kind of catch up. We will kind of stay in touch. I know we've got a few other things going on as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can still play my little part to help you get to wherever it is you want to get to.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
And yeah, it's just been lovely to catch up. And then fingers crossed, you know, before too long. And you know, I think when you actually understand the timescales that these things take, it's not being too hard on yourself. I use this example quite a lot, but one of my previous guests, ironically, Matt McGough from Mythica Films, that are going to be doing the film that we're talking about, when I asked him that question about the best advice, he said, why are you trying to do everything in 1 year? You know, business is like a 25-year race. It's like a marathon. Take your time. Don't rush. And I think often we all put too much pressure on ourselves to do stuff too quick. That actually, okay, you're already 11 years in.
Yeah.
Thank you, Denise. Yeah, Denise, it's actually my birthday today, so I'm 38 today. So
Oh, happy birthday,
very
Denise.
kindly said, no, it's me, not Denise. But
happy birthday, Steve.
No, you know, ironically, I'd forgotten until she put in the comment then. But obviously, I didn't forget this morning. But whilst we're talking, it had gone out of my mind.
Right.
But cool. But no, so genuine pleasure to kind of catch up. I will undoubtedly speak to you in the next few weeks anyway.
Yeah, brilliant.
But a brilliant product, brilliant guests as well. And hopefully you can go on and inspire hundreds more people just doing stuff. And it's
I hope so. We're doing a little bit. Yeah.
But when it is live and launched, well, you know, I'll help you out with some free PR and stuff, and we'll go and do a big splash and launch and just enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? It's almost every single stage. It's all progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I'm definitely heading in the right direction now for sure.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time again, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers, Katharine. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.